Welcome, men, to Savage Discipleship, where we live out Ephesians 4 and we encourage men to conquer and to grow until they reach the fullness of Christ. My name is Derek Neff. I've been a Christian since about 2009. I'm a husband, father of four, currently working construction full-time, and I train MMA and jiu-jitsu, mainly jiu-jitsu right now. But yeah, if you're not training, you definitely should be. Talk about but sin and not allowing it to lord over you in your life, and not allowing compromise, these little compromises, to eventually lead to a downfall. For example, like in Genesis, we see where, Cain and Abel go to present their sacrifices to God. And we see that Abel presented his best. But for some reason or another, Cain did not. And God noticed that and saw something in Cain's heart and told Cain, hey, you need to get this in check, because sin, I'm paraphrasing here, but you need to get this in check because sin desires to have you. And what do we eventually see? That Cain becomes overwhelmed with jealousy for his brother, and eventually ends up killing his brother. So one of my favorite movies of all time is Saving Private Ryan. And in that movie, after they're given their orders to go find Private Ryan, they come up on this one location where it looked like maybe a battle had just happened, and there were still some Nazi soldiers there. And they got into a firefight. They ended up winning, but in that process, one of the Nazi soldiers ended up shooting and severely, basically killed one of their guys. You watch the scene where the American soldier, it was their medic. The American soldier is fighting for his life, and yeah, you watch that pretty tragic event unfold. But in that process, this Nazi soldier is still alive, and he's there, basically passionately begging for his life, begging them not to kill him, begging for mercy, saying, don't kill me, don't kill me. I love America. I love America. But they witnessed with their own eyes that that Nazi soldier, had every intention of murdering and killing them had he been given the opportunity. But there was one man in the unit, and it's like, as soon as you see this character, you can almost see the cowardice on his face. But he starts to reason, like, hey, he starts to listen to the voice of the guy begging. It's like, hey, we shouldn't kill this dude. We should just let him go. The rest of the guys in the unit knew that this man, given the opportunity, would kill again, and they wanted to off him and throw him in a ditch. But the mistake that the captain made was allowing the voice of this coward to influence his decision. So one of my favorite verses it's in 1 Peter chapter 1, I believe it's verse 13, where it says, gird up the loins of your mind. So basically, preparing your mind you are going to be tempted. You are going to encounter things that are going to challenge your faith. But one of my favorite sayings in studying self-defense and stuff like that is, if you want to survive an attack, you're going to have to pre-decide in your mind that you are going to approach that attack with an uncompromised burst of savage violence. And that is the only way you are going to survive. So, you need to take that same girding up the loins of your mind, is taking that same mindset and saying, readying your mind for action and pre-deciding, hey, when temptation approaches me, comes at me in my life, I'm going to act with an uncompromised burst of savage violence. I'm going to put it to death. I'm going to do what I need to do, maybe get away, turn yourself from the conversation, or if you struggle with porn, I mean, maybe you should go to a flip phone or something. But you need to approach sin with an uncompromised burst of savage violence. Because it also talks about in James, I believe it's James chapter 1. In James chapter 1 talks about sin, desire, when it is born, gives birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, brings forth death. So sin's ultimate, just like God told Cain in Genesis, sin's desire is to have you. It's not your friend. It might reason with you. These little, the flesh could be the voice of that coward and come up and say, hey, man, this is harmless. It's not that big a deal. Nobody's going to know. Or, it feels good. But remember, sin's desire is to kill you. Sin is not your friend. It does not love you, has no intentions of making you better or of seeing you succeed. Its ultimate desire is to kill you. So approach sin with an uncompromised burst of savage violence. The thing is, too, when we continue to watch Saving Private Ryan, that coward is still in their unit. And then they get to one of their final battles, and a few of them get set up in certain positions. There's a couple of guys that are kind of like set up in a high spot, and they're firing down upon the Nazi soldiers. And they charge that cowardly man with bringing them ammunition. And he goes to run over to where two of the soldiers are up in a location, two of his fellow soldiers up in a location, and they're firing down on Nazis. And for whatever reason, he just spazzes out and he freezes. This Nazi soldier basically walks right by him up the stairs and then continues to thrust a knife through the chest of one of his fellow soldiers. And the crazy thing about this scene is that the dude just stands there on the stairs, and he can hear what's going on. He hears the tussle. He hears the knife being thrusted into the chest of his fellow soldier. But he chooses to do nothing. He chooses to do nothing. And then this Nazi soldier walks right down the stairs, right by him, and then goes about his Nazi business. The crazy thing about sin is that the more you allow it in your life, the more you allow it to influence you, the more desensitized you come to it. And then the more you become desensitized to it, the more it will start to affect your relationships with other people. It could even end a great relationship that you've had with somebody. So stop it when it starts. Uncompromised versus savage violence. Now later on in that, a couple scenes later, that same soldier who was begging for his life, saying that he loved America, please don't kill me, please don't this. We see him running up, taking up position behind some sandbags, and then firing upon the same guys who showed him mercy. Then he ends up shooting and killing the captain. So that same man who begged for his life, begged for mercy, in fact, still had murderous intentions and killed them. So stop it when it starts, because sin's desires to have you, to lord over you. So I encourage you today, man, to live out your life. Gird up the loins of your mind, like it says in 1 Peter. If you want to study those, dive into 1 Peter chapter 1, dive into James chapter 1, and just go over those things. But you need to pre-decide every single day that you're going to live your life for Christ. And the thing is, too, is that God will provide you the grace that you need. Like, for example, I remember one time on a job site, because if you know, I work in construction full time, but if you know, construction sites are not technically politically correct. You know, they're pretty rough and rugged. But I had just gotten to this site, and there was a guy there. Uh, he was like, I guess he was looking at porn or something on his phone. So he came over to me. He's like, "Hey, bro, look at this." And when he turned his phone and when I saw it was on the screen, I immediately turned my head and I was like, I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at that, man. He was like, "What? What are you, gay or something, dude?" It kind of caught me off guard that he said that, but I was like, "No, I'm not gay, man." I said, "First of all, I'm a Christian man, dude, and I want to keep my mind clean. Because if I don't keep my mind clean, that stuff will end up in my heart, and I start making horrible decisions. You know, because I'm a dude just like everybody else." So I thought the guy was gonna like go a little deeper in criticism, but in fact he was like shocked, and he like took a step back and he was like, "Dang, man, that's pretty freaking awesome." And so that impacted him, my decision to approach sin with an uncompromised burst of savage violence. And even though I knew the dude was already making fun of me, he could have gone in even harder on me. I said, "Forget it. You know, I'm all in on this. So I'm not gonna. I'll face criticism. I already pre-decided in my mind that I will face criticism. I will face whatever comes at me to live for Christ. So don't be a coward, man. Don't let sin creep its little cowardly way into your life, because it desires to have you." So I encourage you today, live out 1 Peter chapter 1, where it says to gird the loins of your mind, and just ready yourself, man. Be the best that you can be. Pour into God's word, apply it to your life, and just, man, God bless, bro. Welcome to the first episode. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna working on some more episodes, so hopefully I can have at least maybe one a week or so. And but yeah, man, if you like what you heard, subscribe to the channel. If you didn't, I don't care. But God bless, man. Live out your life for Christ, and love your wife, love your kids. Be a man. God bless.